Hi everyone, I'm Ellie Michaela Young and welcome, as Clifford said, to the third in our series. Our speaker tonight is Natasha Henry, who is the founder of the Digital Humanities project called Black Cover Archives. She's an independent collection of creative global magazines, and she's a PhD researcher and lecturer at the University of Leicester. Her presentation tonight, Who You Be, Black Style, Body and Identities, captures a conversation between herself and her mom through visual storytelling. She focuses on her mother's photographic images between 1960 and 1990 and investigates in what ways her styling the body influenced shaping her identity.
First, I'd like to thank Eddie Young for the invitation to speak at Caribbean Couture on Tapestry of Identity in the Diaspora, hosted by Hibiscus Community Group. It's an honor to be invited to share my exploration of Black style body and identity with you all. My name is Natasha Henry, as already said, and my pen name is ND Henry. I'm a first-year PhD student at the University of Leicester. My PhD aims to examine Black aesthetics and culture production in fashion. I am an independent collector of creative magazines globally, specifically magazines that cover star Black people. I launched the Black Cover Archive in 2019 in response to how can we archive Blackness? The archive features my collection of magazines, and you can find the collection on Instagram via BLK Cover Archive. Today, I'll be exploring the conversation between myself and my mom through visual storytelling. Black style has been influential in dress history since the 20th century. However, there are limited inquiries on the culture and history of fashion and dress in the Black diaspora. The visual exploration focuses on my mum's photographic images from the 1960s to the 1990s and the conversation we had, investigating in what ways has styling of the Black body influenced the shaping of our identity. Influenced by Carol Tulloch's work on the birth of cool style narratives of the African diaspora, it is essential to document memories and new ways to remember the past. Glenda Anita Susan York, my mum, the eldest of four, moved to the UK from St. Kitts in the late 1950s, where she resided in Leeds with her Aunt Mai. This was the Windrush era where Caribbeans were migrating to start a new life in the UK. Families sometimes never came all at once, but staggered over. In this picture is of my nan, Henrietta, Uncle David, Mum, and Uncle Yorkie. My Aunt Tessa did not arrive in the UK until she was in her teens, hence why she was not present in this picture. The photo was taken at a party in Birmingham where they were all dressed in their Sunday best. Sunday best is a term used to describe one's best clothing worn to church or on a special occasion. Nan never used to dress up daily because she went to work and only wore Sunday best for church or occasions. My mum and her siblings had 3 sets of clothes: Sunday best, school, and yard clothes, with 2 shoes, one for Sunday best and one for school. When reflecting on the abundance of clothes my mum had when I was growing up, it was hard to think that she did not have the luxury to own more than 2 pairs of shoes. Or did this even influence her accumulation of clothes and shoes? Luxury to own more than 2 pairs of shoes, or influence her accumulation of clothes and shoes. But she disagreed and spoke about the cost of clothes allowed people to afford clothing. In this picture, it displays the image of the Sunday best attire. Everyone suited and booted. Mum wearing a patterned straight cut scoop neck shift dress, which was popular in the 1960s. The trend was started by designers such as Chanel in the 1920s. It signifies a shift in culture from the Edwardian dress. The dress became popular in the 1950s amongst youth culture, and designers such as British designer Mary Quant created a street style version. The dress was a timeless piece, timeless appeal, and still is worn today where I have shift dresses in my wardrobe. Mum mentioned Mary Kwan has influenced her style and to so many of her friends. It appeared from our conversation that Mary Quant dominated the way one dressed throughout the 60s and 70s. According to the V&A, Mary Quant was the most iconic fashion designer of the 60s. A design and retail pioneer, she popularized super high hemlines and other relevant looks that were critical to the development of the swinging 60s scene. Next slide, please. Osborne Road, Handsworth, Birmingham around the late 70s before I was born in 1982. A photographer came knocking on my mum's door to take pictures. This was not an unusual occurrence that photographers would take pictures of the community in their homes or within the community. In this image of my mum, she's in her living room wearing a cream two-piece suit and an A-line mid-length skirt, styled with a thick black belt, high heel mules, and a bowler hat. It seemed in our conversation that she wasn't hesitant to get dressed up to pose for this picture. Mum explained back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, people used to dress up all the time. So it seemed as though Sunday best and the limited amounts of clothes Caribbeans had in the 60s had changed. Mum continued to share that she didn't know why people dressed up, but they just did. As Carol Tullett stated, dressing well is almost part of the DNA in the Black community, and partly because of respectability. People coming to Britain faced racism, and presentation of oneself became important in public spaces. Mum didn't really speak about racism, but I suppose dressing well was infectious amongst her community in Handsworth. I asked if she ever went out not dressed up. She replied, "I never went out not dressed up. It wasn't a thing not to be dressed up. That was the culture." Near the end of the 70s, matching suits became popular, teamed with trousers or skirts, with which the power suit became revolutionary in the 1980s. Heel mules were a fashion look in the 70s. In this picture, she is wearing a black leather mule. My mum's nickname was Heels. She described not being comfortable wearing flats because of her deep arched feet. She wore Kurt Geiger heels and used to wait for sales to buy. It was my auntie Jem who introduced her to the brand. She reflected on the time she constantly wore platforms in the 70s, regardless of being pregnant, with my brother Colton. She described falling over numerous of times, but she could not stop wearing heels. Mum wore a bowler hat, so I asked, was this a fashion thing or to cover unkept hair? She adamantly said no to the unkept hair and stated everyone wore hats in those times. Her hair was processed once she left school and described the lack of hair products for black hair. Products consisted of liquid paraffin to thin down the Vaseline to oil her scalp. She mentioned that her hair used to fall out and grow back, so she began to go hairdressers to maintain her hair. Next slide. The iconic photographer Vanley Burke captured the community of Handsworth, Birmingham from the 1970s to the present day. His 1977 crowd shot of people in Handsworth Park for African Liberation Day correlates to the conversation of hat wearing. In the image, most people were wearing hats. It was a cultural fashion statement. Next slide. Handsworth Carnival, Handsworth, Birmingham, 1984. In this image is of Uncle Yorkie, Mum and me. Mum wore a pleated reversible skirt from Rackham's, patterns on one side and plain on the other side. Jacket was from C&A and her shoes are not shown, but she wore heels. Pleated skirts dates back to the ancient Egypt, where it was adopted in Western culture. In the 80s, Mum described that the pleated skirt was the fashion and she had quite a few. We continue to discuss other pieces that we do not have the pictures of, such as her fur coats. I loved all the fur coats she had at the time, and I found my mum to be very stylish, but my mum never really described that she had a style. She just insisted that she wore what suited her and what was available in Rackham's. Rackham was an iconic luxury department store in Birmingham, owned by Harrods, then House of Fraser, and now Sports Direct, was the place where she indulged in purchasing furs and other pieces. Mark I and C&A where clothes were inexpensive, Mum tended to mix luxury with high street brands. It wasn't about where she shopped, but more about the clothing themselves. Mum said clothes were cheap back then, till a DJ called Bugsy had a lyric which he sang about the price of clothes, $1.99 and $2.99. Probing my mum to pinpoint some fashion icons, she mentioned the Pans People, a dancing group who performed on Top of the Pops, who seemed to be the influencers of fashion in the 80s. They wore the latest trends which were readily available in the high street shops such as Rackham's. Hot pants, tight shorts with big belts or buckles held up by really high, with unusual tight button-up shirt tucked into them was the look. I asked my mum if she wore hot pants. Her response was yeah, of course. Next slide. Auntie Jem, Mum, me at a party in Smethwick, Birmingham, 1984. My Auntie Jem was extremely stylish and chic, always dressed in classy pieces. Mum says she normally brought her clothes from Rackham's or boutiques. I mentioned my auntie as she was also an influence on what type of pieces I wear today. The significant feature on my Auntie Jem's attire was a headband, maybe influenced by Cher, or later on Princess Diana innovated the use of a royal family heirloom necklace as a headband when she attended a gala dinner in Melbourne, Australia in 1985. Mum's hair was curly permed at the time, up to the side. Her makeup was minimal, natural because of her lack of black beauty products. She wore studded earrings and a thin link chain. This maxi dress with an inserted paneling that she described to be the thing at the time. She wore heels with this outfit. She also mentioned she had brought something similar recently that she would show me the next time I came down. I kept asking if there were any other influencers at the time. She mentioned Angela Davis and another woman who shaved her head off and wore big hoops. I was unsure who that person was. Can any of you help me to discover who that person is? Next slide. Murdoch Road, Handsworth, Birmingham, 1993. Growing up in Handsworth, it consisted mainly of Black and South Asian families. Soho Road was dominated with South Asian stores, from groceries and fashion stores. My mum had brought this outfit from a South Asian shop on Soho Road. She described that she preferred smart attire and pieces that suited her figure. The blue tunic style with the sequin embroidery around the edging teamed with matching trousers demonstrated a chic and classy fashion sense. Jewelry was always gold. I never really saw my mum wear silver jewelry. She had mentioned some of the gold jewelry was costume and some were real gold. She would mix the two. Her makeup, once again minimal, with a hint of red lip, and her hair was professionally done in a French roll. Black women from the 90s would tie up their hair in a French roll for a classy, sophisticated look. This was my mum's look every time we went to a special occasion. Next slide. Birmingham, 1993, Auntie Jem and Mum. Mum wore a black lace two-piece, jacket and a mid-length skirt with side split. She teamed the look with black glittery tights. Earrings were large, created the statement piece of the outfit. Glittery tights was introduced in the 70s, but were very popular in the 90s. Tights in general range from soft and sheer to shiny, support or bare effects. Glitter and sequins were worn throughout this period. Mum never really said much about this picture, but I remember attending this event and all the women in our family were dressed in luxury fabrics. Next slide. Murdoch Road, Handsworth, Birmingham, 94 or 95. Mum got this outfit made and my sister and I got matching outfits too. The fashion was very flamboyant and edgy, which reflected the times. Influenced by the dancehall scene in the 90s, many people got outfits custom made for special occasions for dances. My mum said that my dad got our outfits made by a seamstress who he knew. Dancehall style is defined by sensuality, sexiness, skin, and celebrating the female body. Mum's outfit was a three-piece suit, consist of a cami top, knee-left shorts, and a lace three-quarter length jacket. Gold metallic and white lace fabrics demonstrated opulence and who she is. Drop earrings wore with no other jewelry accessories. Her ankle boots also sparkled. With her signature finishes, hair in a French roll, with minimal makeup, just her red lip, completed a sophisticated dance hall look. Though her outfit was not a skin-out outfit, Mum had her own twist on the dancehall attire, which had classy edge to it. This outfit amplified Black British Caribbean culture of the 90s, where dancehall sound became prominent globally. Next slide. Murdoch Road, Handsworth, Birmingham, mid-90s. This is one of my favorite looks. I'd wear this look today. The orange organza jacket was custom made by the same seamstress who made the gold outfit, teamed with a black fitted t-shirt, orange mini satin skirt, and black sheer shiny tights. And of course, Mum wore heels. My mum's Tina Turner rock chick look. She wore a thin lock gold necklace with a glow pendant, earrings gold with a transparent plastic circle, 2 bangles, one thin whilst the other chunky. In my eyes, my mum looks good. The fabrics reflected the dancehall scene, but she still kept this look chic. On this occasion, her hair was out, makeup once again minimal, just sporting her red lip. Next slide. Style is always influenced by what is happening in pop culture and heritage culture. For my mum, Glenda York, she seemed to work with what was happening in fashion and didn't seem to concern with fashion trends of the time, but always had her own twist on things that suited her figure. Speaking to my mum gave me an insight to how she saw fashion. She has always liked the nicer things in life. She stated that she loved heels numerous of times, but she has changed her lifestyle. Now she wears a lot of trainers since she's always in her fitness classes in Handsworth Leisure Centre. However, when we do go out, she's always in her so-called Sunday best. This picture was taken at a family friend's engagement party in 2021. Mum wore a white mid-left knitted dress. My mum's styling of her body influenced the way I shop for clothes. I choose clothes to what is available in the stores, but especially choose clothes that complement my figure rather than completely following trends. Thank you.